When you play the Game of Thrones, you
Subscribe and like.
or you die. There is no middle ground.
Alright, hello YouTube, and welcome back to the Grease Goblins YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how did the Greens faction in the Dance of Dragons actually ascend to the throne, or kind of why their reasoning was for why Rhaenyra should not be the queen, more or less. So before we get into the video, if you guys would like to like, subscribe, and comment for more of these type of videos, please do. It helps the channel reach other people that might like this content. And let's get into it. So, looking at the kind of start of the Dance with the Dragons, there are three main figureheads, right? You have Allison, you have Otto Hightower, and then you have Criston Cole. They all three kind of have different reasons for why they don't want Rhaenyra to take the throne, and I'll go about explaining each one of them. So Allison is kind of a similar character to Catelyn, where she kind of wants the best for her children, kind of like how Catelyn wants, Sansa to marry Joffrey and all that, and she can be a queen and all that. And she wants the, the betterment of her kids for the most part, right? It's one of her better qualities. But with that being said, Allison, wanting, kind of seeing the situation going, okay, well, my children can be, the kings and stuff like that, and the actual royalty instead of Rhaenyra. So that is a lot of her main reasoning, as well as she doesn't really like Rhaenyra either. They've always had a lot of tension since kind of when she marries Viserys and all that. They used to be kind of friends at one point, but that kind of changes. Now, the next character is Otto Hightower. Otto Hightower, to me, is a very fascinating character because, in my opinion, I think he's definitely looped into the Maester conspiracy kind of idea that, yes, he hates Daemon Targaryen, but why does he hate Daemon Targaryen? Because in the books, we're really never given any particular reason why Otto Hightower would specifically hate Daemon. The only thing that's made to where it's like, yeah, this kind of makes sense, is there's a rumor that Daemon slept with Allison. But again, there's not a lot of evidence behind this. It's kind of just a very vague rumor. So I think more or less what Otto Hightower is looking at, like, hey, Daemon is one of the, arrogant dragon riders, and all that stuff, and we don't want him to ascend to the throne, because if you look at all of his actions, right, he is constantly trying to get Daemon out of the city, right, and out of, power, like the small council and stuff like that. He even is for Rhaenyra becoming queen before, Allison's children come about and all that, because he does not want Daemon to take the throne. Now, what Otto Hightower sees as the problem now is Daemon is married to Rhaenyra. So instantly, Rhaenyra, you're out, because Daemon, you're, with Rhaenyra, so Otto doesn't like that. As well as Otto Hightower sees an opportunity, in my opinion, to kind of rid the world of dragons with this Civil War type situation. Because again, if you haven't watched any of my Maester conspiracy videos, I would highly recommend you watch those. I go in a lot more detail about why I think Otto Hightower, is in this kind of Maester conspiracy type stuff as well, because he does a lot of interesting things that just don't make a lot of sense to me. But yeah. The last character we look at is Criston Cole. Now, I've done a video this week talking about what I think happened between Criston Cole and Rhaenyra, but I'll just give you a little short version. So Criston Cole and Rhaenyra were very close, it seems. Criston Cole was Rhaenyra's bodyguard, more or less, her Kingsguard. He was always with her. He wore a lot of her favor early on in tournaments and stuff like that. But once Rhaenyra is married off, right, she's supposed to be married, there is this conversation that happens behind closed doors. We don't know what happens. We have a couple options, but the most likely option, for a few reasons, I'm not going to explain them all in this. If you want to see that video, I go check out that video that goes in more detail about this. It is a shorter video still, but yeah. Rhaenyra, more or less, in my opinion, rejects Criston Cole, because I think Criston Cole wanted her, and she kind of wanted to do her duty and stuff and didn't want to do that. And Criston Cole comes out of this very bitter, very angry, and after this point, he is very anti-Rhaenyra for the rest of the story that he is involved in and all that. So for me, these are the three main characters that we have that kind of start up the Greens taking the throne over Rhaenyra. And what eventually happens is Viserys ends up dying. Now, what's key here is Rhaenyra was holding court a lot in Dragonstone. She was not actually in King's Landing when her father was dying or when he died. So what ends up happening is Allison, basically goes, okay, we're not going to let anybody know that Viserys is dead yet, and we're going to get the advantage on Rhaenyra first. So they have this little council, and for the most part, I would say there's maybe one person that is kind of supporting Rhaenyra and saying, okay, we support Rhaenyra and all that. And again, we're not exactly sure what happens. We think, Kristen Cole, I think, probably killed the only real Rhaenyra supporter in the room. But at this point, they kind of all, in this little small council type thing, suggest, okay, we're going to crown Aegon II, which was Viserys' first son with Alicent. And we're going to more or less kind of get the jump on her, right? Rhaenyra's not going to find out for a little later, so she's going to be crowned second and all this. And Greens can kind of figure out what they're going to do right away. And this does give the Greens a big advantage early on. It even helps them in, I think, situations where you're trying to make alliances where it lets, the Greens plan out what they're going to do right away, which is probably one of the bigger reasons why Aemond is able to get to the Baratheons quicker than Rhaenyra's camp is. So again, a major, idea that we're seeing that the Greens were very good politically savvy wise, right? Something that'll come up a lot more. And Rhaenyra just kind of got put on the back foot because she finds out this information a bit later. So she, it takes her longer to establish her forces and stuff like that and to figure out what their plan's going to be. That more or less is how the Greens ascended the throne. We'll talk about later, or actually I've already done a video where I talk about who actually won the dance. But for the most part, the Greens are in kind of King's Landing and in power for a good portion of the war, and then Rhaenyra comes in, and then she kind of does a really bad job of ruling, and then the Greens come back into power, and then, again, lose it. So take it as you will. I hope you guys all liked this video. I love making these type of videos on the Dance with Dragons and stuff like that, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.
If you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention.